Hey to all you Galatians studying guys and gals. Today's lesson, Galatians 5 through 12, and the name of the lesson is Dangerous Persuasions. So, let's start with, of course, verse 5 and look at the phrase, the hope of righteousness. This phrase, righteousness is kind of an interesting topic because sometimes we get to where we think we're self-righteous. I go to church every week. I read my Bible every week. We realize, however, in the Bible it says our righteousness is as filthy rags. So you can say, I have none. But it does not mean, though, that we do not have a right standing with God. We did not earn it. God gives us a right standing with Him. It is imputed to us, of course. We can stand before God and approach Him in the righteousness of Jesus. Paul talks about it here as if it was something that is yet to come. Hope. It is yet future. Paul states in Romans 8:24, if you do not have hope, you do not hope for things you already have. I am righteous before God. But it is also coming. Even though we embrace things today. And we can embrace it today. Look at 2 Timothy 4:8. Today we stand in that righteousness by faith. Confusing? God's word uses paradoxical language, such as saved. Yes, past tense. The Bible also refers to us as being saved. We are saved by faith, but not yet received my fulfillment of our salvation. And of course, next verse 6. Faith is what counts. Circumcision is not an issue today, but then it was the issue. It was huge. Paul says it does not matter. That faith working through love is what mattered. Fear does not produce faith. Fear just produces more fear. One of our favorite verses, God did not give us a spirit of fear, but a sound mind. So if you're here only for the fire insurance, you are a believer predicated on fear, which will not grow faith. Think about that. When you see someone loves you, is it easy to love them back? Sometimes, yes. Okay, verse 7. You guys were doing good. Who hindered you from obeying the truth? He's saying, the churches in Galatia area, you guys were doing good. Why did you listen to these saved Jewish Christians wanting to implement legalism upon you again? You have to go back and observe all the feasts, on and on. It was legalism with rules. So legalism with rules is disobedience to God. To trust yourself, that is a fundamental disobedience. So if I follow the rules, then I will be saved. We're going to look at this as we go through Galatians. If I trust in those rules to please God, I am being disobedient. And look at John 6:28 through 29. Believe, not believe like we believe in Abraham Lincoln. It's talking, that he was a man. He was our 16th president. But it's talking about trust and faith. In verse 8, which is an incredible statement. You've been persuaded to believe that circumcision is required, and God is requiring it from you in order to be saved. But this persuasion is not from the one who calls you. I know you did not come to this conclusion on your own, Paul is telling them. Somebody came along and persuaded you. Same today. Excuse me. Jehovah had to write a Bible to match their doctrine, which is a persuasion that came from a man. Not, and I'm being using satire there. So, when you think about it, the doctrine, as we talked about that previously in a previous lesson, God gave us this Bible, and that is our doctrine. Our doctrine is challenged by the Bible. I got to keep that straight in my head. But doctrine is also something that comes from man. So you got to be careful what doctrine you follow. Let's look at verses 9 through 11. It's kind of a baking metaphor in these verses. A little leaven works through the whole batch of the dough. Now, in the Bible, yeast is a symbol of sin. Of course, unleavened bread is without sin. So legalism will work its way in. Look at verse 10. If I'm still preaching circumcision to be saved, why am I being persecuted? I should be their buddy. Think about it. Verse 11, the offense of the cross, nothing we can do to earn our salvation. Just living a good life will not be acceptable. It is not good enough. Faith. And we're going to talk about the evidences of those of faith and a walk with God. And I think verse 12 is a very strong statement. I wish that those who were troubling you would even emasculate themselves. That's a strong statement. I think Paul's heart was broken that these people were struggling. And going back to the Jewish law, he viewed this threat as serious. We need to understand the extent of the danger of this and not judge. Lovingly persuade instead of a bad persuasion. It's by faith, lest any man should boast. So be careful, my fellow Galatian guys and gals. Don't fall into a dangerous persuasion. Read these verses over and over and meditate on them. I hope y'all have a good week. See you next week.